Hi, my name's Siobhan Lancaster. I'm CEO and Managing Director of 92 Energy, which is an Athabasca-based explorer.
Are you still that? Are you still that? There's a merger happening. Atha Energy Corp has come and made an offer for you guys, haven't they?
There is a merger happening, yes. Well, it's subject to shareholder approval, of course, but it was just announced a couple of days ago, and we're very excited. It's a three-way merger, which is a little bit different in the market. But we're really looking forward to seeing what this new entity, Atha, can do, and we're excited to talk about it today.
Well, yeah, actually, so let's clear it up for people. So Atha Energy have just raised a chunk of change, have put an offer in for 92 Energy, obviously Aussie company, and also another Canadian company, Latitude Uranium. So this triple are coming together. Why are you doing this? You've got a perfectly good project. What made you say yes?
Yeah, thanks. Well, I mean, it's a great question. Obviously, there's some immediate benefit to our shareholders with a 78% premium attached to the close at the time we announced it. So that's a very big tick for our shareholders, which should be realised at the time of the deal. So that was the first thing. The second thing, of course, was Atha, has some fantastic assets. They've got over 7 million acres of exploration in both the Athabasca Basin and the Thelon Basin, so the largest exploration land package in Canada. And the third thing, obviously, was that bringing in the Latitude transaction as well at the same time gives us access to the Angilak deposit, which, of course, has 42 million pounds of uranium, but is also open in all sorts of directions. So there's lots of potential upside there. But really the main driver for 92E shareholders, and this is really the main point, is the access to the $60 million worth of capital in the company, which can really be expended on Gemini's projects. And that can be done in a much faster way whilst the uranium market is really flying to try and get as much value out of that project as possible. So that's really exciting to us. We've kind of struggled a little bit with our market cap. Our 40 million market cap has meant that we've had to do lots of sort of $7 million raises along the way, and it hasn't really moved the needle as much as we would like to in terms of the exploration expenditure being put towards the Gemini project. So this really gives us that ability to do so, really hopefully get the full value of the Gemini project and explore along that 14-kilometre trend that we've been very keen to explore for a long time now. So it's exciting for us, and I think it really provides a lot of leverage and speed for shareholders of the new entity as well. Okay,
so they I think it's 64 million in cash. I think Latitude has just raised 6 million as well. So it's a well cashed up business. But let's sort of, who is Atha? I've not really heard of them before.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So Atha's been in the market for about, I think it's about 9 months now. They listed with a large land package, and actually the key shareholders of Atha was some of the original shareholders of NextGen. So they were the ones that put some of the original land packages into NextGen. So they've really staked a lot of fantastic ground in the Athabasca Basin, and this, of course, is 10 years of staking that they have accrued and put together in this package, which then came to Atha. And Atha, of course, is led by Troy, who has had so much experience in the Athabasca Basin. He's actually he's an amazing CEO, and I'm very impressed with him to date. And looking forward to working with him. But his background is he was head of projects for Arrow, so the NextGen project, which of course is the best undeveloped uranium project in the world. And then, of course, prior to that, he was at Cameco, where he was head of the Rabbit Lake mine, which bears some significance for the Gemini deposit because, as you would know from our previous discussions, the Gemini deposit is actually very similar to that Rabbit Lake deposit. So I think he brings a lot of experience himself personally in terms of those technical skills for this particular project, as well as all of those other benefits that we discuss.
Okay, and with the presentation, which is now public, you're an executive director. What's your actual role going to be? What are you doing there?
So look, Troy and I are going to work very closely together. We're both very ambitious people, and we're really looking forward to building this company up quite dramatically. as time goes on, particularly with this uranium market. So he's obviously a great explorer. I've got all of that experience in M&A, and we're really looking forward to bringing that experience together. I think we're going to work very well together, actually. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, and then obviously Latitude have got a nominee director position as well, so we don't quite know who that is yet. Is that correct?
No, they haven't actually nominated the director. So Latitude has one board member, 92E has one board member, and then there's 4 Atha directors as well.
Right, okay. And, okay, so you're now sitting on a big land package and you've got some discoveries, and have you got to the point where you're discussing about priorities in terms of the allocation of capital? What sits at the top of the tree, and how do you work your way down?
Yeah, so great question. We've actually spent quite a bit of time going through the strategy just to make sure that we're all fully aligned, as you do when you're doing a 3-way merger. But obviously, subject to shareholder approval, if we're to move forward with this company, which hopefully we get all the approvals that we need, then we're very much have a sort of four component strategy. So number 1 is obviously increasing the resource at Angilak, which is that 42 million pounds of uranium we spoke about. So that has a lot of room to expand. So that's quite exciting, particularly in this market with where we think the uranium price is going to go. That has massive potential to be, a very good deposit going forward. So that's the first bit. The next bit, obviously, the priority is Gemini. So Gemini obviously has that new parallel structure that we recently drilled. So we're going to be working our way along that parallel structure. There's obviously room to expand the current mineralized zone down dip. And so we'll be looking at that as well. But also along that trend, there's 14 kilometres of unexplored trend. And as we know in the Athabasca Basin, deposits come along trends. So there's potential to have several more deposits along that trend. We haven't had the cash to be really able to go and explore that properly yet. So we'll be exploring that next. And then the 4th component, of course, is the greenfields exploration. So obviously we have all that ground in the Thelon Basin and all that ground in the Athabasca Basin. We'll be doing really high-level geophysics over those areas, so some of which has already been done. And then we'll be picking our best targets, keeping that ground, and farming out a lot of ground as well. So really, it's a bit of a project generation model for a lot of the ground, because obviously with 7 million acres, we can't work all of that ground. So that means basically we'll have, up to 5 companies working our ground for us at any one time, if that farm out arrangement goes to plan, which I think it will.
I think what interests me is the fact that you focus on the assets that they've just, assuming all approvals come through, and this still goes through. You're focused on the projects which Latitude are bringing in, which you or Energy Energy is bringing in, and so these guys, Troy, they've got access to market, and their CVs, as good as it gets. The access to capital is going to be very important moving forward, but your ability to actually develop these projects with that cash is going to be, I suspect, even more important. Yeah, you've got enough to do what you want to do now.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I think the really interesting thing about Troy and myself is we've got very sort of equal experiences. Myself in Africa, obviously with Extract's Husab mine, and obviously Troy with Arrow, and also running the mine at Rabbit Lake. So that's extremely important experience, which can't be underestimated. And as well, my M&A experience on top of that. So that really gives us ability to really do a lot of stuff, do it at scale, and do it really well. Like, I really back our exploration experience, I back the technical experience, and I back the M&A and corporate experience of this team, which is why I'm so excited about this merger, really.
And what's the timing on this? When can we expect it to hear that it's finally got over the line? Yeah,
so unfortunately with these things, there is a little bit of a delay. So we have to go through an independent expert report in Australia. And then we've got to put out an explanatory memorandum around it. So that will take about a month. And then once that goes out, it's probably a 2-month period. So we're looking really March, end of March is what we're looking at.
Okay. And just in terms of admin, it's for the Aussie shareholders, 78% premium, very nice. And what happens to their shares should they hold Is that an
Yeah,
easy
sure.
administrative process?
Look, I seem to think it's easy. So I set up a CMC account on the weekend to see how easy that was, and it took me about 7 minutes. So that allows you to trade Canadian shares. I'm not sure how easy it is to bring across those shares once they're actually issued, but it didn't seem that hard to me. So that's the first thing you can do. The other thing we're offering is a share sale facility. So that's for smaller shareholders. And that basically means that they can put their shares, opt to put their shares in the share sale facility, and a broker will basically sell them within the first month of the actual transaction taking place. And of course, and they're the two main options that you've got at the moment. And of course, you can do with your shares what you wish today.
But obviously you'd say, hang on to shares, we're building something big here.
We are really trying to build something quite big and quite scaled. And I really think this is the time in the market to do it. We've spoken many times about where we think this uranium price is going. And that's what's really driving this deal and this transaction. We want to be busy when the uranium market's really pumping. And, so our vision is to really grow this company quite rapidly in what we think is going to be a stellar uranium market for the next few years.